Hello, everybody, and welcome back to BAN-KAST, Episode 18, covering Bleach Episode 18 of the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, brother. Rages at ringside. Let's get ready to rumble! All right, that contains pretty much every single piece of wrestling knowledge that I am aware of. I'm not a fan of wrestling. I have a lot of friends that are fans of wrestling. I know Hulk Hogan. I know that guy. What was that guy? Seth Rollins. I had a friend that was into Seth Rollins. Yeah, so... that's pretty much where I'm at right now, okay? But, it's okay, though. It's okay, because Maste Masculine is going to introduce us to the concept of wrestling. Kubo will show us what it means to be a wrestling fan through Stern Ritter letter S, the superstar, Maste Masculine, of course. Dude, this episode is wild. So, this is one of the examples of, this episode contains so many chapters. The entire fight is in this episode. So, this is chapters 560 to 564, so 5 chapters of this. I remember reading these chapters because this is like a multi-staged fight in the manga. I mean, it still is in the anime, but they in the anime they do expand a little bit on Ikkaku and Yumachika and Shuhei fighting against Mask a little bit. So there was that phase of the fight, which was very obviously, even in the manga, unless Shuhei goes into his Bankai and defeats Mask that way, they're not going to beat him. And so then after that, Kensei shows up and fights Mask and is kind of single-handedly taking care of him. And then he gets, he gets powered up with the superstar ability and he beats Kensei down. And it's okay, now Rose is stepping up. It's okay, Rose is doing some stuff. And then Rose loses. And then Renji and Rukia show up. And it's oh, okay. And then Rukia leaves and then it's just Renji. And then that's how the fight concludes. And all of that is included in episode 18 here. It really reminds me, this is something not, by the way, not indicative of just the new anime. In the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. This also happened a lot in the original, where I remember the Burnout Inferno. So you remember the chapters where Yamamoto fought against Aizen? Well, I guess Yamamoto fought more against Wanderweiss than Aizen. But I remember that was 3 or 4 chapters in the manga, once again, fit entirely nicely in an episode. So, yeah, we're going to get into this today, episode 18. But before we get into the actual fight, let's backtrack a little bit here to the Research and Development Division, Squad 12. Of course, we have Uehara, we have Akon, and we have Mayuri there, still wearing his exclusive DLC light armor. I like this scene that they added in because it basically just shows the Shinigami beginning to regroup a little bit here. They're looking at everything, and Uehara is even yeah, if you keep this up, they're all gonna die. We need to do something, or obviously, the foot soldiers, the regular squad members, are not going to be able to, take down the Stern Ritter or anything like that, but, you kind of want them to, not all die, right? We still need a fighting force after this whole war is over, so, there's actually a really good scene here where they're kind of going through everything, and they're just okay, Squad 10, Toshiro and Rangiku, their spiritual pressures kind of went missing. They seem to be turning into zombies, sir. Zombies? That's ridiculous! Moving on. They also bring up right here that Squad 11, so Captain Zaraki is not responding at all. So we still don't have any idea what's going on with Zaraki ever since the incident where he had to kill Unohana. I mean, we assume, yeah, he was out training, but we just don't know. He just cut ties with everybody in his, time of mourning. Also, by the way, this Squad 12 member, I forget her name. I don't even know if she was given a name. I think she was later. She pops up again when Mayuri and Nemu's fight against Pernita is happening. But I like the concept of her hair being she doesn't have long ponytails or whatever. She has chains coming off of her hair instead, and at the end of the chains are little tufts of hair. So I like that. It's a cool little design for her character. But yeah, so nobody is some people are responding, some people aren't, but the regular squads are just in chaos right now because of the topography has just completely changed in the Seirete. So we now cut back to the Squad 1 barracks where Mayuri actually directly contacts Shunsui, and this is not in the manga, okay? This was added in, okay? So I guess they realized, well, wait a second, since Shunsui and Hashwalth were having their sort of stalemate back and forth with the barrier, so they were kind of they were doing stuff. It's not polite to just say that oh, Shunsui wasn't doing anything, Hashwalth wasn't doing anything. They were kind of keeping each other in check, because obviously if Shunsui just left, the Squad 1 barracks and he's oh, Hashwolf's behind the barrier, who cares, I'm gonna go out and help. I mean, I can understand why he would be hesitant to do that, considering that's what happened with Yamamoto and he just died, okay? So it was kind of all right, I'm the head captain, you're the strongest Stern Ritter, which would be Hashwolf, he's letter B, so it's let's just keep each other in check. But now Hashwolf has left to go do the judgment, which, by the way, in the manga, that judgment has already happened between Kangdu and BG9 being judged by Hashwolf. So I'm thinking they might actually hold that until they're definitely going to do something with it, because they added that extra scene of Uryu actually taking Kangdu and BG9 back to the Silburn. So they're definitely not going to skip over it. I think they're just moving stuff around to have moments in between the fights. So, like, after the fight with Maste Masculine, maybe at the beginning of the next episode, we'll have the judgment. That's how the next episode will kick off. And so moving stuff around like that. But, yeah, so it makes sense why they didn't do anything. But now Hashwolf is gone, so Shunswee's just sticking around and doing nothing. He's like, okay, I will continue to stay here and do nothing. So Mayuri calls him and is just like, yes, while you were busy sipping tea with the enemy, we're all down to 30% of our Shinigami fighting force, right? So Shunsui is just like, well, you know, he was about to sip my blood, you know. It wasn't just tea. And there's like this little weird thing where it's just like, yes, we were having a tea break, but we weren't really, you know. Well, whatever, it doesn't really matter. So Mayuri connects Shunsui with all of the squads at once, so he can speak all into there, because they have communication devices. They have, like, the 2003, like, flip phones, like the singular flip phone, like the first kind of cell phone I ever had, you know, back in elementary school. That's the kind of technology they're at right now. But hey, whatever, it's good enough. I could get internet on that thing. So anyway, they're like, okay, let's communicate with all the different divisions, and it's like, we're going to send them maps, we're going to send them updated, you know, topography and layouts of the entire Silburn, Seirete, Vandente, whatever you want to call it, and the counter-strike will now begin, as it were, okay? So all the different squad mates are receiving this now, and, like, you know, once again, it's not really gonna do much, but we might get an extra scene of, like, the Shinigami kind of fighting back. Like, okay, we have regrouped. We know where everything is now. We have accurate maps. It's on! And maybe they'll take on some of the Soldat that haven't been killed yet, or something like that. But it is nice to show what's going on with the foot soldiers, okay? At least that's the whole point of Shunsui being the head captain, is, like, to kind of command all of the squads, not just the captains. The captains can handle themselves. The vice captains can handle themselves. What about the random, like, that's the Shinigami Dave and Shinigami Jerry? What about them, guys? What about them? All right, so that's important, okay? And, yeah, they're all just like, okay, here's all where the former squads were located because of the change of everything. But here's, like, squads 2, 7, 9, 11, and 12. That's where they're located, so we have updates here. And, you know, don't exhaust yourselves by continuing to fight on your own. Just try to regroup here. Okay, so that's what we have right there. Time to regroup. Time to begin the counter-strike. All right, that's cool. That actually shows Shunsui stepping into his role as the first division commander, as the head captain, which we didn't really see. Well, we saw it a couple times in the manga where he actually understood the position he's in now and is like, okay, I'm going to now dish out some orders. It's not really my style, but it's the responsibility that was given to me and I have to take it now. Okay. But now we cut back to Kensei and Mask. So this is some of the shots we saw last episode where Kensei shows up, you know, blocks Mask's foot, about to step on Shuhei. And he says, like, well, I would love to fight you, Captain. However, I'm going to go check out that light over there. And so then Rose shows up as well and is just like, well, we have 2 captains here for the price of 1. And Mask is like, all right, okay, you convinced me. 2 captains, you know, 2 on 1. Let's do this. Ring the bell, James. We begin. Rages at ringside. Okay, Kensei wastes no time to jump into his Bankai, Tekken Tachikaze. Kensei is kind of like, he reminds me a lot of, like, someone that actually takes the militaristic aspect of being a Shinigami, like a captain, and goes along with that. Like, he's like a general in the army or something like that. Like, he is a no-nonsense kind of dude. He understands the situation, and of course, he's defending Shuhei as well. He's defending his you know, vice captain and everything like that. But also, it's like, no, we're just gonna end this asshole right here, okay? So, Kensei's Bankai, Tekken Tachikaze. So, his Shikai turns his sword down into, like, a really sick-looking combat knife, and it basically allows him to manipulate, it's the wind. It's a Tachikaze, Kaze meaning wind. So, you know, he has this combat knife in his Shikai. He'll, like, swing the combat knife around, and it creates, like, air pressure blades that, like, slice hollows up from a distance. That's really cool in its own right. His Bankai, Tekken Tachikaze, compresses all that manipulation of the wind down into his fists, and it also gives him these really cool iron gauntlets all up and down his body, and the neat little ribbon thing that's also made of iron, like, wrapped around him, so it gives him some armor. And it also gives him, I don't think we saw those two conical things in Fake Karakura, those things coming out of Kensei's back when he goes into his Bankai, but the real show here is his fists, the gauntlets, and more specifically, like, the brass knuckles he has. So Tekken Tachikaze compresses all of that wind manipulation, all that explosive force of the wind down into his brass knuckles, and Kensei can actually alter the shape of them so he can have them protruding out like some like more blunt or more sharp or slicing depending. And then when he punches somebody or something, it's a constant onslaught of explosions going on. So Kensei's like the king of like the combo moves, you know? It's like you hit somebody and it's just like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30, 40 multiplication combo, you know? It's that's basically what his Bankai does. So he punches Mask with Tekken Tachikaze, and James can do nothing more but look on at his superstar, and it just wrecks his shit. So Mask goes down. He's like, oh boy, that really hurt. By the way, I love the soundtrack playing in the background here. It's Heat of the Battle. And so when Mask like goes into like his Rages at Ringside, the title card, and he goes in like the drop kick, Kensei just blocks it like no big deal. And then you hear the like dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Like Kensei's like, this is the attack that caused Shuhei to be defeated. Oh my god, that idiot. It's actually a very similar scene to when Yamamoto was fighting against Driscoll, and he was like, the attack was not this weak, although it's flipped here, where Kensei is kind of deriding Shuhei for like, I can't believe that idiot lost to an attack of this level. This is ridiculous. So Kensei is just manhandling Mask at the beginning stages of this fight. Like, there's really not much. Rose is even back here like, yeah, I guess he won't be needing any help from me after all. So Kensei just punches him and he knocks him clear across the battlefield into a building. And Mask is out. All right. By the way, I love the fact he wears a bow tie. I love the fact that he's this big, heavy, luchador, masked wrestler. Like, yeah, come on, brother, let's wrestle. But he has a bow tie. He knows bow ties are cool, and I love that. Okay. So, James is there, and he's just like, Mister, get back up. You need to fight. And Kensei is kind of looking over at James and is just like, man, this kind of makes me feel like the asshole here, really. I'm the one that's kind of, I kind of showed up and just one-shot this guy. Well, I like 99 hit comboed him to death, but whatever. I still feel kind of bad about it. Anyway, Shuhei's over there, writhing around on the ground a little bit, and Kensei's like, oh, you're awake. Well, go back to bed. It'll be fine. Everything's okay, Shuhei. I'll tuck you in. It's fine. You just had a nightmare, buddy. And Shuhei's like, no, Captain, you don't understand. You gotta stop him. He's the little guy. You gotta stop him. So this was something that we actually got to see before. In the manga, we didn't see this power, I don't think, up until this point. In the anime last episode, or maybe even the episode before that, we saw the ability that James, when he cheers, does kind of help Mask get back up. So, yeah, here it is. And so James is the actual Stern Ritter, keep in mind. He is the one that has the power. Maste Masculine is the manifestation of said power. Now, he's still like a living being. It's kind of like Gremmy's power a little bit, except not really. It's like James, I would imagine, is just this, he's this short, chubby guy that really wants to be like this like awesome wrestler dude, okay? And then I guess Yuha approached him one day and gave him the power of the S, but he didn't turn into the actual wrestler. I think it's because maybe James was just a big fan of watching wrestling. It's like he didn't want to become the wrestler. He wanted to have a wrestler that he could cheer for that was like he's his biggest fan, kind of thing. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if Maste Masculine is based off of like an actual masked wrestler from the world of the living, where James grew up or whatever. And, he was like a big fan of this one masked wrestler. And he's like, I wish that I'm his #1 fan. I wish he would pay attention to me. And then he got the power, and then that's what manifested in it. Okay, so the two are linked. Okay, they are both living beings that are linked. But James was the one that received the power, and that will be confirmed by Yuha at the end of this episode. So James is, of course, get up, superstar, please! And so with that being said, Maste Masculine gets back up, he supercharges, he just boom, knocks out Rose, and boom, knocks out Kensei like that. Knocks Kensei into the side of a wall, knocks Rose over to the other side of the battlefield. Is like, the superstar, Maste Masculine! Let's see if we can, yeah, there it is. I love that title card right there, the superstar. So yeah, the more that James cheers, the, stronger he gets, but also it increases his healing factor quite a bit. So it doesn't matter how much damage he takes beforehand, he will heal almost immediately, get stronger, gain more endurance, more speed, and just more flair, you know what I mean? And it's the idea of a wrestling match where, you have, it actually is a rather multifaceted ability when you really think about it, because, you'll have these wrestling matches where, like the baby face will be getting beaten down by the heel. See, I know a little bit about wrestling. The face will be getting beaten down by the heel, and the whole crowd starts cheering. He's like, come on, get up, man, get up. And then finally he rises to the occasion, just boom, boom, knocks him down, suplex, headlock, I don't know. And then it's just like, yeah! So it kind of like a multifaceted thing where it actually, that is the whole point of his power, is the cheering of a fan bringing him back to life, like in a wrestling match, you know what I mean? That's how it goes. Okay, so Kensei comes back for round 2, but it doesn't work out too well. He gets kicked by him. He gets star headbutted. Kensei, I mean, he's still there. He gets headbutted straight, and like, you really feel for Kensei here. There's a scene that happens in a moment where he gets his shit really thrashed. But anyway, Kensei takes his gauntlets, his brass knuckles, and he makes them like really long protrusions, like coming out of each knuckle. And so it's more of like a knife or like a box cutter, and he like, bam, punches Mask right in his hand with that thing as the successive damage happens, but Mask is able to resist it. So the consistent damage is happening in the sky, but it's not good enough. Now, this scene right here, Kensei is about to get his shit wrecked 8 ways to Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. I love Kensei, I really do. And by the way, it also makes me feel like there's really not much else Kensei could do here. He's not being an idiot. Okay, no, there is something he could have done. He went into his Bankai right away. He didn't pull any punches with Mask. He started unloading on him with his strongest attacks in his Bankai. And he still got, defeated by the superstar, okay? So, maybe Shuhei could have said something a little bit earlier, but he was knocked out by Mask, so I guess so. That makes sense. I guess Shuhei had an excuse why he didn't say James was the real threat earlier. Okay, so Kensei and Rose, I guess Shinji as well as an extension, do not use their hollow masks while they are in the Seirete, while they are captains. Now, I believe this is not explained at all in the manga. I believe later on in the light novel it is further explained that it was basically out of respect to Yamamoto to not rely on hollow powers while they are in the Seirete, while they are wearing the captain cloaks, because the other Vizards in the world of the living, they will eventually come back to the Seirete and they will put on, the Shinigami outfits, but they will still use their hollow masks because, like, why wouldn't they, right? However, Kensei, Shinji, and Rose do not. And it's one of those things where you could argue, like, well, they respect their position, and out of memory of their head captain, they will not use their powers, but in a situation like this where it's literally them getting completely beaten down by a Sternritter, and you have an invading army that literally is like playing dirty. I mean, this army is not fucking around here, you know what I mean? They're coming in, they're marching into the Seirete, they're turning the entire area into their domain, and they have no compunctions about just murdering, like, dozens and hundreds and just mass extermination paths. Like, they do not care. They are here to kill everyone, all right? In that situation, in that scenario, I think using your hollow mask would be okay. It would have been a really badass scene, too. It would have been like Kensei and Rose could have even had a moment where it's like they look at each other and they're like, okay, well, the head captain would be rolling in his grave if he saw us do this. It's like, yeah, well, it's either this or die, Kensei. And he's like, okay, sure. Whoosh, whoosh, hollow mask power time. It isn't brought up in the episode at all, but unfortunately, yeah, they don't use their power, and so that's that. I don't think there's anything that's physically preventing them from using it. I don't think it was ever explained like they had some kind of like restriction or limiter or keto seal placed on them or anything like that. Like, if you want to become a captain of the Gote 13, you must have a keto seal placed on you that you cannot use your hollow powers anymore. I don't think that's the reason. I don't think there's any, maybe there is, I don't know, but I doubt it. Yeah, so that's the situation with there. But yeah, this is about to get really brutal here. So Kensei tries to fight back, but oh, there it is. So you can kind of see it in the anime. In the manga, it's very clearly a compound fracture where Mask just breaks Kensei's arm, slams him to the ground, and then, let's see if I can get this scene, just boom! Flying drop knee just crushes Kensei, just lands right on top of him. Oh, God, look at that. I mean, Kensei went through the ringer on this one. Literally got the, he got, kneed in the stomach, headbutted in the face, got his left arm compound fractured, broken in the opposite direction, slammed into the ground, and he's just like, and then, like, right as he's about to get back up, boom, drop knee like a damn meteor. So, Rose is in the background like, where were you at this entire time? I was like, no, Rose was doing something. Rose got thrown into a building too, so he got knocked out as well. But he had to prepare for some stuff. But dude, Kensei, he had it rough. He got really wrecked. I'm sorry, dude. Okay, so yes, Rose was doing something, though. Rose, in the meantime, got back up, used his Shikai, which was Kinshara, transforming his blade into, like, a whip with, like, a flower blade protrusion on the end of it. He impales James, gets rid of him, so just like, okay, we're gonna kill that thing. We're just gonna get rid of that whole situation. You're not doing that bullshit again, all right? Loud and noisy guests are not welcome at my dance. Just like, so Rose's whole thing is like, he loves music. He loves like classical music, so he's like a conductor. So that's kind of his whole deal, right? So he does the smart thing. He's like, okay, now we know how your power works. Well, we're just going to take care of James really quick, so now he can't be shouting to bring you back to life. And now it's a fair one-on-one brawl. I'm not going to let this chance that Kensei gave me go to waste. So now he goes into his Bankai. So let's raise the curtain on Kinshara Butodan. All right, so this is once again utilizing a lot of 3D, like CG kind of stuff. Once again, it works, though. Even the same thing with, like, Tokujo Tengen Myo Dangai Joy. The fact that it was CG, that it was moving in a... It didn't look like it was like an alien being kind of works here, because it kind of is the same deal, where Rose's Bankai creates these 11 members of this dance troupe that are all made of, like, taking the whip and, like, the thread and, like, winding it around with the flowers as their faces, and they're not even they're not like hollow holes. They're like, literally, they don't have like a middle section of their body. It's kind of hard to explain, but like, imagine if your legs just went straight up to your shoulders. That's kind of what these things are, okay? And so it's the dance troupe of death, as he announces it. The whole area changes, like light begins to, like a spotlight just on the area, which also makes it more like a wrestling match, so that's very fitting. And so we have these things begin to dance around Rose here. Kinshara Butodan is a dance troupe of death. So Rose is kind of positioned in one place. He has his sword that turns into a conductor's wand, and then there are these giant hands behind him that kind of work as, like, you are now conducting a dance routine. You're now, conducting the music of this routine, okay? So the first dance number, and I think Rose has a set different number of, like, techniques he can use with this. We see two of them here. A third one is mentioned but not actually shown, but I think he has more than just those three. I think he has a bunch of different programs or like musical numbers or compositions that he can use, and maybe every time he goes into his Bankai, he can only pick three. So there's like an opening, middle, and closing act that he can choose. And so for this night's program, the compositions that he chose were, number one, the first one was Sea Drift. And so this one is neat because the light actually changes with each of the performances, which I really like. That as a nice little touch there. So Sea Drift is literally the different dance members, like begin to circle around Mask, like dancing wildly while like water begins to appear and swirl around, trapping Maste Masculine in one point like a typhoon or like a whirlpool, so he can't escape, okay? The song of pain and dread. Then they go into the second performance where the light turns red. Prometheus! And so then the images of these dance troupe members begin to create fireballs, and fire begins to just appear out of their mouths, the flowers, and begin to just light Mask on fire. Now, it's at this point where Mask is like, no Zanpakuto can manipulate both fire and water at the same time! What is this? Some Todoroki shit? Like, what's going on here, So it turns out that, of course, that is true, but Rose even clarifies. Rose is going to clarify a lot of stuff here, actually. My technique is deception. So Rose begins to explain that his power is music. So it's utilizing, it's kind of like Genjutsu from Naruto a little bit, where he is manipulating your auditory nerves to the point where he makes you think that there's water. He makes you think that it's fire. The music, when it enters you, can kind of sway you. Just like music, you can like listen to a song and close your eyes and kind of just envision this scene unfolding as you're listening to a good song. That's the kind of power of Rose's Bankai. It's really unique. I really like that kind of ability where it isn't just music in the sense of like, I'm going to make a really loud noise and disorient you. It's, I'm going to use my music to literally send you into like another, like delirium or hallucinations, but it still does do damage to you. You feel like it does do damage, and he can do all of this with his Ryatsu and like Kido and everything. It kind of makes sense how like, even though there actually is no fire there, it can still burn Maste Masculine. If he is listening to the music and he believes it to be fire and he's on fire, he will be injured all the same. That's kind of the point of it, okay? So, yeah, Rose, you were winning. You were doing it. You had to explain it to him. Rose, let me ask you a question. When Maste Masculine had to say, like, no Zanpakuto can manipulate fire and water at the same time, you could have just lied to him. You could have just said, well, mine can, bitch. Boom! Just like, and Mask would have no idea what's going on. He's not the smartest tool in the shed here. All right, he's not. You could mess with him a little bit. You could have been like, oh, my Bankai is able to manipulate all of the elements. What? That's not possible. Well, I can do it. Bam, bam, bam. You could do that. You could do that, and he would be none the wiser. Also, you didn't even need to answer him. You could have just stayed quiet when he said that and waited till your Bankai to finish him off. But no, you have to stop in the middle of the fight and explain to him, my power is music, so anything that you hear can manipulate and captivate your heart by my spell. And so, of course, now we begin the third program of the evening, where Rose begins, I think it's in German, but he doesn't really, it's I think, the life of a hero. It's the life of a hero in German or something like that, or a hero's death. I think it might have been a hero's death. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter because Mask now figures out, wait a second. In fact, the fact that Mask is not that smart is kind of his saving grace here, because he just takes it at face value. Like, what, his power is sound? Oh, okay. And then he just ruptures his eardrums. He just, like, destroys his eardrums. Rose says at first, like, wait a second, that's not going to work for you just to plug your ear. Oh, wait a second, did you rupture your eardrums? That's not, you can't, do that. Oh, shit. And so Mask then uses as Star Flare, I think is the name of it. He just, like, puts his hands up on his mask and fires a star. There it is. Star Laser! And then, GURP. Oh, okay. Sorry, Rose. Sorry, buddy. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of, like, imagine you're playing D&D, right? Okay, you're playing D&D, and you have this, like, final boss planned for your party, and you're working this out all day, and you're sitting down, and you're like, okay, this is what the boss is going to do, and you're trying to go through all these different possibilities of, like, okay, if the party does this, it's going to do this. If they cast this spell, he's going to move over here. If they try to do this, this is going to happen. And you plan it all day, and you think this is going to be a really intense boss fight, but then you start the actual fight, and, like, maybe one of your players had a magic item that you forgot about. Maybe they had some weapon or something in their toolbox that they leveled up and you just forgot they had that or something. It's like, oh, I use this. Yeah, shit. Yeah, okay, he dies. It is like, yeah, I use this. Or your player comes up with, like, a really clever move that, like, you didn't expect them to do, but, like, damn it, that makes sense. All right, yeah, that works. He's dead. Oh, that's kind of what this is, where Rose has this, like, 1,000-yard stare of, like, wait a second, was my Bankai just defeated by a muscle-headed idiot rupturing his own eardrums? That's literally all it took to destroy my Bankai. Oh, Rose. I guess no one's ever tried it before. I guess some people have tried to plug their ears, but no one's ever actually just went ahead and just destroyed their fucking eardrums. Now, it's okay, though, because Mask does try to finish off Rose with another star laser, but then Renji shows up with his cool goggles and tiger-printed cloak to save the day, and now we get into the final stage of this battle here. So Rukia is there as well. Hi, Rukia! Oh my god, I'm waiting for you next episode, girl. It's gonna be some wild shit. All right, anyway, Rukia and Renji both show up. I mean, they could have finished off Mask pretty quickly if they fought together, but, you know, they got to get Kensei and Rose and Shuhei and Ikaku and Yumachika out of there. So Rukia's like, all right, I'm gonna pick up all of these corpses, basically, and I'll get them someplace safe. Not corpses, but pretty close to it. I'll get them someplace safe. So don't worry, Rukia. Your time to shine's coming up here. So, Rukia, take care of Captain Mugurumo and Otarabashi. All right, sure, I'll take care of that. And I got him by myself. It's time for a one-on-one boxing match. We got this. A wrestling match. Boxing, wrestling, same thing. No difference, really. The same thing. He's bringing a sword to the wrestling match, so it's all good. God, I love Zabimaru, dude. Look at Zabimaru. Zabimaru is such a cool-looking Shikai. If you look at all the other Shikais of the Vice Captains, none of them even hold a candle to how cool this one is. I mean, okay, Kazeshini is probably the closest one that looks like as badass. By the way, I just realized Kaze Shini and Tachikaze, so they both kind of manipulate wind, and it's captain and vice captain. Interesting there. But yeah, none of the other ones, like Gonorimaru, Gegetsu Buri, I mean, I like Wabisuke, I like Izuru's, but like the appearance of it really doesn't look all that unique. It's just like a curved hook sword. Isane is kind of boring. Harite Gumo. Momo's is cool, but like in terms of design, this is the coolest one right here. Okay. So, yeah, Renji's going to take care of Mask. And, by the way, he's talking right now, but Mask ruptured his eardrum, so he can't actually hear shit. So he's just like, I can't hear anything. Oh, God, look at Rose back there. He literally has a perfectly star-shaped, like a cookie cutter, went right through him. I love that. Rose is like, oh, God, I can't believe this. I'm not going to be able to live this down. Dude, Kensei had a fight. Kensei fought back, and he tried, and it just wasn't strong enough, okay? Rose had the opportunity to finish him off. It is because of Rose's own hubris, his own arrogance and ego why he lost, okay? Yeah, I know. You could say Kensei should have put on his hollow mask, but I don't even know with the hollow mask if that might have necessarily killed him. But here, I mean, that would have necessarily killed Mask if that would have saved the day. But here's the thing also. The fact that Rose got rid of James wasn't even like that. Like, it wasn't like James came back and rooted for Mask de Masculine and that's why Rose lost. No, literally Mask was able to beat him on his own without any of his like revitalization powers right there. They didn't even use that during the fight with Rose. Damn it, Rose. You were cool, too. That's the way you go out. That's the last cool thing Rose is going to do the entire manga. I don't know if he's going to do anything else in the anime, but that is it for the manga right there. That is the memory. He honestly, Rose, you deserve to be demoted after that, I feel. Like, after this is all said and done and after the reports are filed, I feel like you deserve to be... I think we need another captain for Squad 3, honestly. Okay. So, yeah, Mask is talking here about, he begins to call Renji and Rukia villains, because the whole idea is he's a babyface, he's the hero, he's the wrestler, and then they're the heels, they're the villains, after all, okay? It's like, villains are dirty cowards, after all, that would, of course, fight 2-on-1, and Renji's like, oh, no, I'm the one that's going to be just one-on-oneing you here, don't worry about it. Okay. He does say, oh, my eardrums are ruptured, but it's not a big deal, so we cut over to James, who is not dead yet. James is like, half of his body just plops over. He just like, okay, superstar, you're gonna be awesome, you can do it. And then that cheering, even though Mask cannot physically hear the cheering, that's not what matters. They are physically connected using the powers. So just him cheering is enough to activate the superstar and heal him of his injuries. Not him actually hearing the cheering is the thing that does it. I think that was discussed very briefly back, I think it was between the chapters here, when he ruptured his eardrums and then defeated Rose, and then Renji showed up, and then that was the end of the chapter. And then the following chapter is when James heals the wounds. So I think there was a debate for about a week there of like, did Mask just take away his chance to be healed because he ruptured his eardrum so he couldn't hear the cheering? But that's not the case. So the fight begins here. Renji's kind of looking at him, and he's just like, all right, so I guess he can heal. That's a thing that happens. But so Renji just slices. There we go. Just decapitates James right there. Just dead. All right. Now, in the manga, it's actually even more brutal, where Renji actually takes his sword and just dices up James like freaking sashimi. All right, like he just dices him up into little tiny cubes. All right, like he's ready to prepare dinner, okay? And so here he just decapitates him, which is still brutal, but like even more worse there. It also showed in the manga a lot more precision that Renji had capable with Zabimaru now. Like his training has improved to the point where he can finally dice somebody up, you know. So because Zabimaru looks more of like a hacking, you know, weapon. It doesn't really look like a precise kind of like slashing weapon like that, but Renji's able to use it with that capacity. So it doesn't matter. It's the same thing that happens. But anyway, Renji takes on Mask. Rukia goes to take everybody else away. There is an added scene here where she arrives at the former Squad 4 barracks, and Isane's there. So she arrives, and then she's like, hey, Mugaruma and Odorobashi are critically injured. Please help them. This is going to establish stuff for later, because later on in the next, after Rukia's fight, we're going to have Kenpachi's fight with Gremi. And that fight begins with Isane and Yachiru in the in this like little area, like in this house, like healing Rose and Kensei. So this is just setting that up. This is just setting like, okay, Kensei and Rose are now in the hands of Isane. She's going to begin healing them, and we're gonna, you know, catch back up with her in a moment here after Rukia's fight. Okay. So cutting back here, Renji just kind of, he doesn't completely like slice Mask in half, but it's just barely. He slices through Mask's stomach, and he like just shy of severing his spine, just shy of severing his backbone. Okay, so Mask is like kind of like an accordion, just like, whoa, like about to fall back, right? And so it's like a one-hit attack, and Renji is just like, okay, I killed the dude that you need to heal yourself, and then I slashed you almost in half, so the fight's over, right? Yeah, so Invasion it's one of my favorite OSTs in Bleach, and so that begins to queue up, and all of a sudden James begins to replicate. He begins to clone himself, okay? So this was the thing, like I said, it made more sense in the manga when Renji diced him up like bacon, diced him up like cube diced like pancetta or whatever, and then each individual piece forms into another James. Here he just sliced his head off, but like there's like James is like he's like propagating like an amoeba or like a cell or something, where James are like popping out of the other James's mouth, and it's just like replicating like crazy. So you really can't get rid of him. You could literally dice him up. You could incinerate him. It doesn't matter. He'll always come back. In fact, he is actually incinerated coming up here in a moment, like completely incinerated, gone, atomized. And Mask mentions that as long as I exist, you know, we are one as fan and superstar. You will be born from me. You will come back into existence via my body if I am ever killed, if you are ever killed, and vice versa if I am ever killed. Okay, so you got to get rid of both of them to actually get rid of the power, I guess. Right. So Superstar is revitalized with all of the excessive cheering, especially since there's now an entire crowd of James's to heal him. He hasn't gone into his Volt standing yet, but he does go into Star Power Up. So that's that. He gets a new mask because now he's made a heel turn, ladies and gentlemen. All right, brother, time for some pain. You know, I love the star nipples. I love the porn star nipples. I love the giant that star thing. In the manga, I always assumed that was his chest hair. I assumed he had, because it was kind of like ambiguous. He had like, I guess, chest hair in the shape of a star, but no, I guess that's just like part of his body. I guess he just has like a star coming off of his skin there. It doesn't look like a tattoo or something. It looks like a piece of metal that's like literally just grafted to his chest. My God, look at them pecs. Look at these pecs, baby. All right, so the fight is now on anew. Let's see what Renji can do here. So the fight continues. He's just pummeling him like crazy. Like, star, 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 star. That's my one thing. I have stars. Oh, man. This isn't really a great gimmick, by the way. The fact that he just yells star a lot, the fact he's a superstar, this seems like a lame kind of like gimmick for a wrestler, I'm just saying. And then we do the, now he goes into his release form. Now we get Voltständig Maste Masculine, where he gets a really cool, this is one of the cooler ones. He gets the star-shaped halo, of course, it's going to be shaped like a star. But he also gets, like a cape, like cool cape and like little like flourishes of wings, and he can like rocket around the battlefield. That shit's pretty dope. That shit's pretty cool. and he uses this cool ability where he just like streaks through the sky and then just sets up this cool star and then just blasts it. Star, flash, supernova! And then he hits James, and James is like, you go, superstar, finishing move. Wait, what? No, 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 no. And so, yeah, they get completely incinerated by the attack. But Mask does state that it's just like, right, hold on, I'll just pull it up here. You and I are one as star and fan. You know, so I guess if Mask dies while James is dead, because I guess it takes time for James to come back into existence. So actually it makes me wonder, if Mask did not kill James in this scene, and then Renji were to use Zaga Teppo and his Bankai to kill Mask, with James still alive, I guess James could have... Well, no, I guess it takes time. It's not immediate. So Renji could have used Zaga Teppo, killed Mask, and then James could have still been like, Mask, come back to life! And then that's when Renji's like, nope, we're not messing with this, and Zaga Teppo James. You just have to make sure James is incinerated. You got to make sure he's completely gone, and then they're both dead. So that Mask kind of dealt with 50% of the battle right there. He kind of dealt with half of the problem right away on his own. Like I said, not very smart. And then Renji shows up and just has to defeat Mask, and then you're done. Okay, so yeah. So I love that appearance though. I love the effects, like the GIF appearing like on his head, his mask, like actually flowing with the red and the stars and everything like that. That's pretty neat. So Renji just got hit like point blank from that Star Flash Supernova, and of course we have only one way to really survive that. He's got to go into his new Bankai. Yeah, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I love this fight. I really genuinely do. The fight coming next with Rukia is one of my more favorites, but this one is definitely ranking high up there. So we get the reveal of not Hihio Zabimaru, which was his former Bankai. So we cut back to the Soul Palace here, where we have Ichibe Hyosubi, the eyeball monk, Osho, begin to explain the whole situation with Zabimaru. So Osho is the naming one. He is the one that named every single phenomenon in the Soul Society. He named the Seirete, he named the Senzaikyu Tower, he named the Sokyoku, he named Zanpakuto, he names Kido, he named everything, okay? That's what he does, right? That's his power. Very metaphysical, hard to understand, but he names things. There are powers in names, okay? That's the whole deal, okay? So he mentions that he knows the name of every Zanpakuto inherently. And the true name of Zabimaru, the Bankai name, the true name is not Hihio Zabimaru. Hihio Zabimaru simply meant Baboon King. But if you remember, Zabimaru is actually a baboon. It's a monkey that has a snake coming off of its tail. So the whole point of it is snake and baboon. So it wouldn't make a lot of sense for the Bankai to just be called Baboon King. So it's just taking, okay, I can understand why people assumed that and why Kubo actually played us a little bit here, because Zabimaru, just the Shikai, means snake tail. So you could say the Shikai embodies the snake aspect of his Zanpakuto spirit, and then the Bankai embodies the baboon aspect of it. Also, the Bankai does take the appearance of like a snake. You know, it has the snake form that moves around, right? Now he has like baboon bone cannon and everything like that. So you could just say that's where the duality comes from. But no, the true Bankai of Zabimaru would embody both the snake and the baboon. And I like to think, because Ichibe explains that this one only partially acknowledges you. So I like to think when Renji was training to save Rukia way back in the Soul Society arc with Ichigo in the underground training area, and he's like, okay, I figured out Bankai, I'm going to go fight Byakuya now. I think the baboon aspect of his Zanpakuto spirit acknowledged him, but the snake didn't. Remember, the snake was a lot more curt with Renji. The snake would like, yeah, you're a scumbag, you know, that kind of stuff. You lazy scumbag, get up out of the bed and go fight, you know. So the baboon seemed way more understanding of Renji, and the snake was a lot more just like, you know, mean-spirited toward him. So maybe that was the case, where the baboon acknowledged him, like, okay, I'll give you my power for a Bankai, but the snake is like, I'm not helping you out yet. You know, you gotta prove yourself more to me. All right, and so that's where that comes from. Now, in the manga, Ichibe, the way he explains this to Renji about his true Bankai name is kind of like this. It's kind of like, don't worry, Renji. I know the real name of your Zanpakuto. I will give you the real name of your Bankai, so then you can use it, and then you can call the name, and then you can achieve it. The implication being that as long as Renji calls out the true name of his Bankai, he can use it. The implication is different in the anime, and I like that they changed it. Because he says, I'm going to tell you the true name of Zabimaru's Bankai now. You must still prove your strength. It's not as simple as just somebody else giving you the name, calling the name, and then you have true power. You can control everything you can do. No, you still need to prove your strength. You will use this name, and then the snake will be like, okay, show me what you've learned. Show me how much stronger you've gotten, I guess. And then after he proves himself, then he can actually use the Bankai. All right? So the true name of Zabimaru's Bankai is So Zabimaru, which translates into two kings or twin kings. Snake Tail, Twin Kings Zabimaru, taking full advantage of the baboon aspect on his left arm with the giant baboon arm, and then the snake aspect on his right arm with the snake skull and the sword protruding out of it like a fang, like a snake fang, okay? So there it is. So Zabimaru, true Bankai unlocked here. It took a lot of hard work before I was able to speak that name. See, there you go. I like that they included that. It wasn't just like somebody else can give him the name and now, oh, well, I guess somebody told you my name, so I guess I have to listen to you now. No, it's you still got to prove yourself. You're still the one with this power. You know what I mean? That's how it goes. Okay. So, time for the final clash. Time for the climax, brother. Okay. So the battle goes... Renji basically extends Hihio, which is the Baboon King aspect, grabs Mask's arm here, and just, like, he kind of, like, a little bit of retribution for Kensei, kind of just breaks Mask's arm at, like, a 90-degree angle and chucks him into the side of a wall, all right? Now, Mask at this point is like, oh, screw this shit. I don't even care about this wrestling crap anymore. It's on. I'm going to pummel you into the dirt. You know, I'm done with this whole, like, hello there, brother, you know, superstar, villains, heels, FaceTime. You know, screw this. You're dead. You know, this is a street fight now, bitch. You know, it's on. All right, so he charges, and Renji is so chill, so cool. Does not care. Renji takes his blade. The sword transforms into shape, into more of its original form, into Zabimaru Shikai. Stabs, runs right through Mask, because he kind of just runs right into the blade. And then Renji uses a technique called Zaga Teppo. So the appearance of a snake just appears behind him, like over him, and then Renji just kind of like turns his hand, and then snake fangs just come down and literally burn out, like they incinerate anything that's coming in contact with that blade. That is a wild technique. And Renji, of course, has the cool one-liner of like, you know, oh, isn't that what you wanted? To burn yourself out, superstar. End of episode. Well, not the end of the episode, but the end of the scene of the fight there. Okay. That was epic. That was cool. I love that final attack there. Once again, not the last time Renji will use this Bankai in the manga, but it's the last time he uses it in any cool capacity like this. He shows up with his training. He has one cool fight where it's really one-sided, and there's really never any fight after this that really challenges his mettle with this. See, I feel like there's a certain formula that needs to be followed here, okay? When a character goes through a really big training arc and has some growth in a moment like that, I feel like when they first come back, they should have a fight like this where they can really showcase just how absolutely strong they are, okay? Honestly, they could even have two like that. Maybe Renji could take out two of the Stern Ritters. Why not? Then he gets to a fight, maybe with like the Royal Guard or something. That's like, okay, this is something, I'm not going to be able to one-shot this dude. This is a fight that's literally going to take a lot of my effort. All of the fruits of my training need to be involved if I'm going to beat this person, right? That's the way I think it should go. You know, it shouldn't just be one-shot fight and then, all right, we had that moment. Yeah, nothing else needs to be done with him. Rukia and her Bankai, kind of the same deal, unfortunately. But that was Renji's moment. I'm not going to take that away from him. It was pretty cool.
So we cut to the very end of the episode, post-credit scene, and we see Yuha in his throne, and he says specifically James is dead. He says this in the manga, too, so it confirms that, like, James was the one that actually was given the script by Yuha. So Yuha, at this point, begins to absorb the fragments of James's soul. It begins to incorporate back into himself. Yuha gave that power to James, so now he incorporates the superstar back into himself, okay? It's kind of like energy cannot be created nor destroyed sort of situation. Or like Father from Full Metal Alchemist, something like that. So at this point, Yuha disappears in the shadow dimension, and Hashwolf appears. And he mentions that while he sleeps, can he return to being the king of the Quincy's, the true savior, the Christ figure of the Quincy's? And I am now donning the mask of the ruler while he slumbers. That's the duality of Hashwolf and Yuha, A and B. Something else, I think in the manga, when Hashwolf is revealed to be the mask of the ruler, like when he achieves that power, I think his eyes go black a little bit. At least there's one panel where his eyes look a little different. It might be the Almighty power, too, although the Almighty hasn't been awakened yet. It would just have been cool if, like, his, there's some facial change. There's some, like maybe his hair goes from blonde to black, and so that's how, maybe like a streak of black goes down his hair to kind of indicate that he's actually the one that has Yuha's powers while Yuha sleeps kind of situation. Anyway, Uryu is like, okay, what's going on here? He's like, I didn't know this. I didn't know. So what? You're the ruler now? You're Yuha? What's going on? And Hashwolf says, it's like, well, he says you already know that, but that's referring to all of the Quincy's being connected to Yuha via the blood, because Uryu drank Yuha's blood. So he knows that already, but he didn't know about the whole, like, you know, King of the Quincy's, Mask of the Ruler shit. He didn't know that. And so Hashwolf says, you know, oh, I guess because you are His Majesty's successor, he chose you. I suppose I can tell you, you know, what kind of being Yuha really is. And that ends the episode. Now, at this point in the manga is where we get Yuha's only backstory that we get in the canon, okay? It goes into a lot more detail in the light novels. But at this point, chapter 565, which is where we're heading up to right now, is when we learn about Yuha being the baby that can share part of its soul and then reincorporate it back into itself, and then that's how it became. But we still don't know so much in the manga, in the canon of the manga, like, where did Yuha come from? What time period is this? You know, like, we know a little bit more during Bazby's backstory, but that's when he's already an adult and, like, doing stuff. So it's just, like, there's a couple more things that need to be explained about Yuha, I think, and we might get that in the next episode, in chapter 565, as we're going to start on. But, yeah, in the manga, it was only, like, a couple of pages. Get, like, you know, the power to impart his soul. So 1, 2, 3. It's, like, 4 pages. That's it. He knew that he knew that name was the name of the god they worshipped. He decided to make that his own name, Yuha. And so we see Yuha as like a teenager and, you know, learning about this power and stuff, but that's pretty much it. So hopefully we'll learn more about that next episode. And speaking of next episode, the White Haze. Oh yeah, this will be Rukia's battle with Asnote, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready for Rukia Bankai time. It is some Snow Princess time. Okay, let it go, can't hold it back anymore. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, that was BANKAST for 1,000 Year Blood War Arc, episode 18 of Bleach. Hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know what you're excited for in the next episode. Let's see where this goes from here. I will try to get the next one out a little earlier. I know this one is like 4 days after the episode came out, but the next episode is with Rukia, and she's like my favorite character, and she's going Bankai, so I'll try to get the next one out as early as I can. Thanks for being patient, everybody, and yeah, have a great night. Later. Signing out.